Welcome to the Town of Richmond meeting of Water and Sewer Commission, April 1st, 2024. First on the agenda is any public comments? Okay, no public comments. Additions, deletions, or modification to the agenda? Oh, all right, good.
I did have a question. Can we talk about the tank and the divers at the next meeting?
Sure.
Yes, we'll add that to the next meeting agenda. I think you're getting the lead.
I think so too. Is that tax?
Yeah, so good, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, approval of the minutes, purchase orders and warrants. So first up will be the minutes from March 18th, 2024. Do I have a motion?
I think we've got a few. Oh, sorry.
Second?
I'll second that. Is it Bard?
Okay, discussion? All right, the only thing I saw was line 88 and 89, just to check the numbers, whether it was, maybe that's the way it was quoted in the during the meeting, but I don't think the numbers, they might be out. I think nothing intentional was meant there, but
Okay.
if they were out, they just need to be correct. All right. End of discussion. So calling for a vote, please voice your vote.
Karen, I.
Bard, aye.
David, aye. Morgan, aye. Motion carries.
I would like to, I like it. I did like it. I still like it better when we had the minutes
At the end,
broken down more than
Oh,
just the summary.
more extended. Yeah,
Person.
we
I
can.
feel like sometimes when I go back to read things now, because it was just summarized, I feel like sometimes there aren't as many details in
Right.
when you're going back to look at something
To explain
sort
what
of reference or gauge where we were at when we left it last time. I liked it better when it was
more detail.
I mean, you were doing it as a trial, weren't you? I mean, the summaries.
Yeah.
Wasn't that what was proposed?
We were doing it for a while. Yeah, maybe we could revisit it. I know from a time perspective, it's really helpful for Duncan to have it a little shorter just because his duties are growing as we have FEMA claims and whatnot. But if the commission would like to discuss that at the next meeting, we could look at it and see if there's more detail that could be added.
Discuss that. Maybe we could look into AI.
He's actually already implementing some of that.
Okay, good.
So,
Yeah.
and so maybe it's a discussion of if they're between that he's been doing the last couple of months, would there be the ability to add a little bit more, not add hours more to his plate?
Right.
Because I think, yeah, he's had some, and he could speak for himself if he's listening in. But I know he's added some technology to it, but we've added some things to his plate as well lately.
Right.
So,
Yeah. No.
Duncan, do you want to jump in here?
Sure. If you want to listen to my feedback, I agree. There's a fine line between how much time you want to put into the details and the consistency across all our boards. The video is there, so it's not like the details are missing.
Right.
Yeah, it just made, like, I was looking something up this week that we had talked about, and when we had the minutes, and the detail is definitely there on the videos, but like, I do a lot of reading at night before I go to bed, and you can't watch the video. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
the reading is just, I find the reading to be easier, only my opinion. I just thought I would,
Are you saying the minutes put you to sleep?
maybe.
The video is too stimulating to watch. I see.
So riveting, it keeps me up.
That's right.
High
It's like
pace.
Gone with the Wind sort of a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Morgan, it's Bard, maybe the next time if we put it on the agenda, we could have examples of the long minutes, the short minutes, and even look together at like momentarily the video. One of the things I've liked about different kinds of videos, you play it at 1.5 speed, so it's way faster.
Yeah, I do.
I haven't done that.
Yeah, but you get everything and
It's surprising. I almost never miss something. Occasionally, if somebody's talking fast or unclearly, you have to back it up. But usually,
That's why I listen to audiobooks too, is on like
Yeah.
speedy function.
1.5. Oh, interesting.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah, you
wondering,
can put on
Duncan,
closed captioning too. on the video. Closed captioning's a way I kind of help myself with the AI. I do a transcript. I do the, the CC on the video as I'm watching stuff, and I try to boil it down to what would be digestible. Because I did feel the older version, that's a lot of stuff to read, even just to type. And it's like I try to get it specific to the topic and efficient more than just everything, especially with past history. If it's in previous minutes, I don't want to start recapping what was in previous minutes personally, but that might be something the board would want to change.
Well, I wonder if, and I haven't actually read through the AI transcripts that you get, Duncan, but the minutes of the official record, then we have the video that's there as well. Could we post the raw AI transcript? And that way, no matter how detailed the minutes are, if somebody wanted to go in and see something in the AI transcript, that might be an easier thing to skim through rather than
It's not readable yet.
Oh, it's not readable. Okay.
Yeah, the AI. I mean, I'll be happy to share you. I've shared with
Yeah.
a few of you of that what it looks like. It gives you a few good quotes, but if you were to read it, it's like 50 pages of text. So you want to read through 50 pages? Let's do it. I'm all for it. I'll post it real quick. I'll have it done by tomorrow morning, real quick.
And I'm not criticizing you in any way, Duncan. I just, I think it was a better tool when we could look back and see more information. That's all.
I will say the select board had a variety of opinions as well. So part of it, I think, is preference.
Yeah.
It's not right or wrong.
And my remembrance was that you were just doing it on a trial and we're going to revisit it at some point. Maybe that time is now.
Yeah.
Well, no, the water sewer is actually the older system. I'm just trying to be more efficient with the water system, older system. The select board is the newer system where I summarize even more. So if you really want to look at the two differences, look at the difference between the water sewer minutes where I quote actual people. And in the select board, I more do a summary of Arneson said this, Hill summarized this. Where in the water sewer, I tried to quote you directly and find the quote you actually submit to the committee. But very few committees do that. So once again, I think we should look at consistency across all our boards and committees on minutes as well, on what we're asking and what we're wanting for official record, because it is a very fine line.
Okay, Connie?
I just have a question, maybe to put this into perspective, because we do all definitely utilize Duncan across the board as all our activities have been increased. Duncan, how long does it take you between attending the meeting, setting up the meeting, typing the minutes, and posting the minutes?
I would
And
say
on
after
a normal week without a 5 o'clock meeting.
Right. No, if I think the best equation I have of after the meeting and I run the transcript. So I'll try to run the transcripts tonight or tomorrow morning, and then I'll bring them in with Josh's agenda and everything else. For every hour of meeting, it'll take me about 2.5 hours to compile that minutes. So like tonight, if we go from 5 to 10, 5 hours, that's going to be 10 to 15 hours of my time. But by the time I get everything done accurately, do it right. You can certainly rush it if you want.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
Yep, absolutely. So good. Next up, let's see, there's no warrants or purchase orders?
There are purchase orders.
A separate email, I think.
Yeah, that
Oh,
one,
I
that
missed.
was out Thursday, Friday. So Duncan, Duncan, you did send them to the Water and Sewer Commission too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
good.
they were out there.
Cause I remember seeing the select board email this morning and I was like, oh, did I see the Water and Sewer? Commission?
Friday,
There
11:45.
you go. So I'll share a screen with,
Friday, the
11:45 a.m.
27th?
Oh,
I said my,
29th.
29th.
yeah, I sent everything except for warrants out on Wednesday, the 27th.
That's why I
And
did.
then Duncan followed up with the warrants when they were finished later this week.
One of many valuable services he provides.
It is. There it is, right here. Yeah, that failed me. I should have flagged that. I always
Well,
type
it's a-
in Josh.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a bit of a change in the procedure because I was out Thursday, Friday last week, but the first purchase order we have is number 4866 to US Bank. This
Sure.
is for a number of things. We've got a
Loans.
Jericho Road loan on there, which is part water and sewer. When they did that project, it was paving as well as subsurface infrastructure. And for some reason, they've also added a fire truck to this loan. I think about the time that we took the loan.
$332.
Yeah, so you can see the water.
That's a good deal
So
for
we're
a fire
part-
truck.
Yeah, that seems.
They-
What is that?
they would
Connie, is
re-
it, is this like the last payment on that bond?
No, I think we have another year. Remember, this was paid over the course of 20 years and the truck has actually
Gone down.
not lived as long as the loan has.
Yeah, so it started more expensive and has reduced quite a bit. But this is one that'll be approved by both the commission and the select board.
Okay, all right, all right, I see. So there's.
Should we have a figure specific to water sewer? Is there
Sure.
a subtotal here?
I mean, if you approve the purchase order as presented,
We'll
it
break it.
has, it has the, everything there, but I can give you the number if you want to add those two together.
8,000 something.
45, 29, 10. 8.58. $8,087.68 for water and wastewater.
Oh, excluding the Jericho Road one.
Yeah, you were just
Fire
looking,
truck,
yeah.
The part,
So
yeah.
8087.68.
Okay, so calling for a motion to approve purchase order 84866.
So moved.
Second,
Bart, I'll second that.
any discussion? We already had discussion, so calling for a vote to,
Okay.
go ahead.
Aye.
Bart,
David, aye. Morgan, aye. Motion passes for purchase order 4866. Next purchase order 4868 in the amount of 25,139.95. Do I hear a motion to approve?
This is David, so moved.
Is Bart, I will second that.
Discussion. This is again East Main Street loan payment.
This is for the water line replacement project that was on East Main Street. I think it was around,
A couple of years ago.
yeah.
That was the one we had to hurry up and do it.
I think it was right around.
It was
there.
before I started working here. I'm trying to remember exactly when. Yeah, it was like 15, 16 sometime. I remember I was living here, but
2016.
Maybe.
Wow, it's been a
State told
few.
us to hurry up and do it so they could come in and.
Oh, that's
repay for
right.
it, Too.
Yeah.
Is
And
that
we
20?
bought this year.
That was 2016?
I
We
believe
just snuck it under the wire there.
Boy, it was close.
Okay.
So like if we just say no, we'll forgive the loan. We can just stop now.
Yeah, so we know better than that. All right, this is, any more discussion?
No,
No, okay.
Aaron, I.
Bart, I.
David, I.
Morgan, aye. Motion passes for purchase order 4868.
I just want to make a comment that the annual payment on this project is less than the maintenance on the old line was.
I was
Because there
gonna
were
say,
so many breaks.
We had one or two breaks every year
Every year.
and they frequently seem to happen on like Sunday
Friday.
afternoon.
this is the notes.
July the 3rd.
He's made.
Of East Main Street, okay.
There were some funky lines there
Um,
that were prone to breakage.
That's how farms work too. Sunday
And once the line was fixed, we had nothing to show for $30,000 other than the old line wasn't leaking anymore.
Yes, there were no emergency call
I
out.
think that had one line down one side of the street. And there were several service lines that ran underneath the road. And that was eliminated by putting up a line on both sides of the street. So, yeah,
Oh, water and sewer, you mean? No,
water,
Water,
sewer is in the same spot.
right.
But there's a 4-inch main on the right side and there's an 8-inch main on the left side.
Right.
And that eliminated the need to cross the street every time somebody was doing a service,
Right,
which was very smart.
yeah. Yeah, you don't have to pay to repave the road every time as well, right? All right, purchase order number 4867 in the amount of 21,138.80 for Millet Street project. sewer, and highway. Do I have a motion to approve this purchase order?
Mrs. David, so moved.
Bart, I'll second that.
Discussion? No discussion, calling for a vote.
Aaron, I.
Bart, aye.
David, I.
Morgan, aye, motion pass. Okay. We have one, oh, actually, we have two warrants. So there's a warrant, electronic warrant, I guess, for 34,116. And getting back to that, where'd that go? And then there's another warrant for 22,187, 27,692.12. Motion to approve these two warrants.
Morgan, this is David. Move to approve the warrants as presented.
Second,
As Bart, I will second that.
any discussion? All right, no discussion, calling for a vote to approve the two warrants.
This is Aaron, I.
Bart, aye.
David, I.
Morgan, aye, motion passes. All right. So moving on to review of draft 2025 budget. Josh, you want to lead here, please? Or?
Sure. So I'll do an overview and then we'll have maybe a little bit of a working session.
Okay.
So the main budgets for water and wastewater, we didn't make any changes on. Everything that we presented last meeting is still the same on the water budget that you're seeing here, as well as the sewer budget. Fire protection is the same. We did, I made a couple of changes to this sheet. As you can see, those sort of highlighted there in salmon, whatever color that is. Added the 15% of the budget in, so it's a little bit easier to see when you get to the end of water unrestricted, your year-end projected balance, 15% of the next budget right now is $59,000. So we're obviously underfunded a bit there. Sewer, we're at $310,000 projected, 15% of the budget is 131. We've got about $178,000 more than 15% of the budget. And that's going again on the best advice of our auditors to keep 15% of cash on hand, essentially, that's not committed anywhere. Aaron brought that up at the last meeting. I wanted to add that to this sheet so that we could see it a little bit easier. Also on this sheet, and I'll get to the next sheet, which helps explain kind of back here, we did some projections out for FY25. So in 24, we talk about what have we spent, what do we expect to spend, what do we expect to come back, and then in FY25, we do expect to get reimbursed for the $92,000 that we spent on final design for the Tilden Ave, Bridge Street, Thompson Road, Cochran Waterline project, which is slowly moving forward. We did add this sheet here. This is sort of one of the bigger changes that we made was we added a sheet here to look at water and wastewater upcoming capital projects. Again, I got to hand it to Steve and his crew. Last year when we looked at this was a much longer sheet. Right now we're down to 2 water and 2 wastewater upcoming items that we think we're going to try to get to between now and the end of next fiscal year. So in water, we have the new system monitoring system, which is an alarm system, as well as it'll provide some real-time data directly to the phones of the staff so they can see what's going on in a more real-time format with the water system. And Steve has a lot more information about that in this item as well as in the future items. Excavation to locate the Borden Street water main. We've got a valve over there. Right now, if you want to turn off Borden Street, which is the housing development sort of down Railroad Street across from Richmond Rescue, I think you have to turn off all of Railroad Street because we don't know where the valve is. And they had an issue, was it last year, where we needed to shut it down and we couldn't find
2 years ago, they had an issue with one of their units had a leak underneath it. They own all the infrastructure. They went to their main valve next to our meter, closed it. It didn't slow anything down. They called us. Can you shut us off so we can do, change all our valves, get them working and be able to take care of ourselves. We spent probably 3 months looking for their water valve. And we brought in a private utilities locator, and we also brought in rural water expert. And to no avail, to finding where this valve is.
When was it last seen?
Somewhere on Railroad, if you know where Borden Street comes off, there is a large Y-ish shape in the road. It's somewhere in that area. Brad and I spent extensive time looking for it. We dug several holes through the pavement. We located a radial tire. We located a 3/4 inch property marker. We located a lot of steel that wasn't anything to do with it, nails. So we have not been able to find it. And we brought in a locator that would hook to the closest main, which would have been, there's a fire hydrant right there across the, and then they send out an electric current and try to follow it. It gets lost somewhere in that middle of that intersection. Versus trying to locate it, dig it up, try to find it, we felt that the best thing is we know where their line goes to their meter, because they have one large meter. It's dig back into Borden Street where it should be, follow it back. And as soon as it comes into Borden Street, put a new main in there, a new shut off. To do that, it's about 15 grand.
When was that shut off last seen?
We even asked Kendall, and we looked where he said that Trudy had located it once. We have several blueprints for that whole thing, and there is nothing where it says it should be.
Okay.
And we've adamantly looked. Mr. Noyes allowed us to go inside his fences because we thought maybe a fence got put up. Because really Richmond doesn't own that street. He does.
Yeah.
Maybe a fence got put around it. So we tried to locate it on the inside of, and we didn't locate anything.
Is there a chance it's not there?
There is, sure, there is
Just
that
like-
chance. The best case scenario we came up with was put in a brand new one where we know where it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if we, at some point, when they do some excavating, find the old one, we do away with it. But, yeah, right in where we thought it was, we discovered was a radio tire buried in the
Oh.
pavement.
Well, if
We
you,
cut a piece of the pavement out, dug down, and we found a radio tire laying on its side right there.
well, if you need an excavator to help you with that project, I highly recommend John Scott. He's
Yeah, he's
quite
been the
good at
guy that
scraping the
we,
dirt right off the.
yeah. There was excavation done there when the, Richmond Rescue was put in. And it was not located at that time. My thought is when Richmond Rescue was put in and they did some extra paving there, I think it got buried and it's not locatable now. So the best case is to dig it up, come into the street and put it there.
As things are developed, infrastructure migrates and often people's memory of where it used to be
Yeah.
is off.
Yes. That's why we are right now in the process of locating every curb stop. And not only is there a photo with the curb stop wrench in the curb stop in relation to the home, the business, but there's also measurements taken from permanent corners of the house or the residence or business.
We put GPS dots everywhere. There was a connection on our line, like,
The
and printed them off.
so you guys have a program called Diamond Maps. The problem that we have found with Diamond Maps and the way it was utilized in this town, it is a 25-foot variance. And when you're looking for a 3/4 inch piece of pipe
Yeah.
sticking in the ground, 25 feet is a big space.
Yeah.
We felt a permanent picture in relation to the house. And dimensions off of the corners of the property, of the house, permanent, not trees, not shrubs.
Yeah.
That's what it was in the past. So we've done Tilden Ave, we've done Millet, we've done Baker, we did, Browns Court today. And then they're gonna start up on, Burnett and come down through, Jericho Road, and we're gonna do them all.
Thanks.
So in that same process, when we locate a valve, a main valve, it is getting the same measurements, picture in relationship. So we want all the infrastructure. If I send somebody to such and such an address, they can, it's gonna be online, they can look at it, they can actually see it, and they know right where they have to look. Your valve is underneath your wood pile.
Yeah, I was gonna mention it.
No, we measured it, we dug it up.
Oh, good.
Yeah, we've already done it.
Did you stack?
Huh? No, it's his lumber pile for his
Yeah, there's some
construction.
siding going on. I was going to observe that also for the town-owned valves, this is something we talked about for asset inventory and asset management. Not only where is the valve, but what is it, how long has it been there, and think about replacement, like
Yeah.
life cycles, right?
That was my next question.
Well-
Tell me about the life of a curb stop, if you find it, but it hasn't been touched in 30 years.
So Tilden Avenue, those are some of the older curb stops that are and meters in the system. On Tilden Avenue, and the reason we're also opening the curb stop, putting a wrench on, out of, I think there were 15 on Tilden Avenue. 8 of them are inaccessible. You cannot physically get a wrench on the curb stop to turn it.
And you might also ask what supply line it's on, because you might have to do the whole thing, right?
Correct. So it's Tilden, when it's dug up for a new water main, that's the time that we should probably really replace a lot of those. Some of them have been replaced, but there's definitely 8 to 9 that we know of on there that you can't get. Some of them, they're in driveways now where they weren't originally, and they physically have been plowed over. Just, in the winter months, plow comes in on a soft day and it bends the curb stop over. The covers are gone. We can cut them off and put risers on them, but they're full of material now, and you just can't physically get on them. So we're well into that project right now. And it's going really well. We're finding them. There is one on Millet Street that we have not been able to locate.
Sort of does ask the question of a real robust geographic information system.
So they make, so when they were doing it with the GPS locating, when they did it with your diamond maps, they took the tablet out and did GPS with that, and it is a 25-foot variance. They make more accurate pinpoint. You see engineers using them, they're way more accurate.
So yeah, I did that for about 17 years, and who's Tyler, is it?
Yeah,
When he goes out, he uses it.
yeah.
Because he sets up a unit over top of a survey monument. So if the GPS says it's 10 feet over here, software says, okay, if you're 10 feet off here, then when I take that measurement, it's also off, so they can correct that.
Right.
So a surveyor has to go out and do that. It's not just the GPS unit itself, right?
Right, but they make more accurate GPS locators. We priced one thinking that it would be a good way to go. It's about $3,800 just for the GPS locator that we could use. We're hoping that in the future, rural water will get one and have a lending program where we could maybe just borrow it once we've located everything. It's a matter of just, running out for a week and getting a dot put on the diamond map, so it would be more accurate. To give you an idea, if you take diamond maps and you go up to Cumberland Farms curb stop is just off of the post with the crosswalk. And if you look on diamond maps, it's in the middle of their pumps.
Oh,
I mean, that's
Building.
where it's located according to diamond maps.
Right.
So,
Well, it would be good. I think if whatever we do in the future, we do talk with like Tyler and get his recommendation as well, because he has to be like down to,
yeah,
very, very accurate
Yeah.
for what he
they
does.
stay within 3 feet is what they would really like you to see.
I'm only gonna point out Tilden Avenue is an example where there aren't very many credible survey markers.
Yeah, yeah, oh, yeah.
So
I have no idea where our property line there.
We did locate every curb stop though. We were able to find them. I mean, I went back to the 1972 records for one. But they were good enough to be able to get, they had dimensions off of a residence. And it was still roughly the same residence. It got us in the ballpark.
Yeah, good.
But-
Nothing beats physical points to measure off. It does.
Yeah. including the GPS is reliant on satellites, is it not?
Yeah.
Yes.
The Russians are launching satellites that are nuclear capable. And one of the fears is that we'll literally use it to knock out GPS.
Yeah,
Because without GPS, all sorts of US things don't work.
yeah.
my children.
And I don't think the Department of Defense has a backup plan to the absence of GPS satellites. Just that's a harebrained scheme.
Yeah.
But I will observe the buildings are less likely to move.
Well,
Right,
we're-
yeah.
I mean, we discussed this amongst ourselves, Brad, Mike and I, and how is it best to get an idea of where you need to look? And that's when we decided, we put the curb stop wrench into the curb stop and we take a physical picture standing in front of the house. And that gives you a pretty good idea that that house is always going to be where it is, or the residence or the, and that gives us, then we have 2 points to measure from. And that gets us that's old school, getting you pretty close.
Well, they'll never fail you though.
Yeah.
Russians can't mess with that one.
So we're doing a hard copy and then we're also doing an online copy that we'll have once we're all done.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That
Kind of a tangent, but
was $15,000 to excavate.
But those are items we have to figure out. Do we want to add them to the budget? Do we want to take them out of a reserve fund? How do we want to pay for these items? Same thing in wastewater. You want to clean the second aeration tank. So the fish tank has been cleaned and is ready to go. Put that online. I say fish tank, just give everybody a visual.
Yes.
Cause I get confused about
It is-
the three
I-
different aeration systems we have. That's the big one.
that tank right now, if you go down and walk over it, it's crystal clear, 14 feet deep.
So you can see the fish.
Their fish do not live there anymore. It is crystal clear. You can see the diffusers at the bottom.
It's full of water, crystal clear?
Yeah,
Wow.
it's full of water. We'll drain
Wow.
it out when we're ready, but we filled it up last fall because we didn't want to leave it empty and let
Yeah.
it. So, but when the ice went out, I was like, damn, it's clean all the way to the bottom.
When you clean the aeration tank, do you just empty it and then power wash it? or-
Well, the 15 grand is to empty it in anticipation of 10 years worth of solids that we may have to remove.
Okay.
that we can't run back through the plant.
So that's PMP to vacuum it out and then some disposal costs.
And
Oh,
then
okay.
the-
All right, good. And the new influent, I mean, we're 3 years away from, if we get a
Yeah,
vote to pass it, we're 3 years away from.
yeah. And this is an estimate. I reached out to Hoyle Tanner to say,
Yeah, we're trying to get-
what number should we put into the budget if we want to buy one of
Yeah.
these before we get the upgrade?
Mm.
They kind of gave that as a rough
Yeah.
ballpark. I think they're gonna try to refine that. And we asked about, can we get any subsidy for this now, knowing that we might be able to get subsidy down the road? They're still looking into seeing what we might be able to get. I don't have a firm answer for them just yet.
Well, Morgan, just to sort of call the question, the point of looking at these is to contemplate what we have in reserves, what we are comfortable leaving or taking out of reserves, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I know I've been sort of thoughtful and think we might be cautious, given our recent history in the last year of a bunch of things that pop up. And I'd feel a little differently. I'd feel really clear about the 15%. If we were on track, we're up to speed with replacements. But the vagaries that we've run into, I'm just sort of cautious about liquidating assets, and we might find ourselves in a position of having to borrow money for an unexpected thing, which wouldn't have been a big deal when interest rates were really low, but
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's more of a deal than it was before, right?
Well, also, one of the things I want to talk to about, and I think we have it on the list,
Water lines,
is
water
the
meters.
water meters.
Yeah, maybe we get, let
Yeah.
me talk about two more things quick, and then I think it'll be helpful to go back to the unassigned reserve
Yeah.
fund sheet to kind of get an idea of, okay, which path forward do we want to take? And then, yeah, I think we talk about the cost of the installation.
I just want to bring up one thing when we talk about that, where is it that we do have emergency funds for more flooding?
Well, that will be at the next sheet as well.
Okay,
Yeah,
right, so-
that's all of our funds, emergency or otherwise.
Yeah, okay.
I appreciate that you did the 15% thing, and I also like that we have on the tab for this,
Mhm.
because I feel like when people do ask us questions about the budget, it's a lot easier to answer when we say we chose to go over the 15% because of X, Y, and Z,
Yeah, right.
not just like, well, I don't know. You know,
Makes
it
me feel better, right?
At least, and I know it's more work on your end, but it does feel
No.
better when people,
This is the
say,
right,
this is what we're doing. this is what we're
yeah,
doing.
no, thank you for that. And I mean, we need to get to this, that we understand exactly what we are spending money on and what we're not and how we're planning. So then the other things I put down here are reimbursable projects that we need to make sure, and this kind of goes to Barb's point with 50%. We need to make sure we have cash on hand for these, because these are the types where we'll pay the engineer, we'll pay the contractor, and then we submit the reimbursement. Typically, the engineering comes back pretty quickly. The construction phase can take a little bit more time for review from DWSRF and CWSRF. Still faster than FEMA, but it's not like you just get the money within days. So we have the Tilden waterline replacement for construction phase engineering is $165,000. And then the Tilden waterline replacement for the construction, this is also Tilden Bridge, Cochran, Thompson Road.
Right.
The construction is estimated at about 1.6 million. This will probably start in about this time next year is our goal. We've got some feedback from the state. They're asking us for some more information. We're getting them that. In talking with Tyler Billingsley, really doesn't make sense to go out to bid on these until the fall. Because if you go out to bid now, you're gonna get everybody just throwing a number at it because they're pretty full already for the summer. And we've talked to Pete about lining that up with where he wants to repave. He's been wanting to repave for years, but he understands that's our goal. So that money we'll need, at some point in the spring, maybe even before that, as we start to do final design. Worst comes to worst, we could do a bond anticipation note or a line of credit, which would come with some extra fees, extra interest paid, but it could get us through, a few months if we got time. So
Okay.
then what we have to do now is kind of tie it back into the unassigned reserve fund, and figure out, okay, do we want to put in the budget? Do we want to pull out one of these capital funds? How much unrestricted do we have? And then to get to Steve's point, one thing we need to decide on soon, probably the next thing we need to decide on is this number here, the 203,881. That's 103,881 for water meter purchase and $100,000 for water meter installation. So that's the big number that's putting us at this negative $20,000 projection for unrestricted funds. We do have $96,000 projected in the water capital that we could really spend all or some of that and reduce the amount that we're taking out of the unrestricted funds. Connie has a question. Maybe we go to Connie, and then I know Steve has some more information about installation. Connie.
So just a thought on getting reimbursed from those construction pieces of the projects. It's really dependent on where the state is at with their staffing. The last one that we had to get reimbursed for, we waited a year. And that was really putting pressure on them at the end of our fiscal year to get that money back to us. So that's a lot of money to have to wait. If they get their staffing up, then we'll do better. But what happens is I have to submit and they have to get the state's engineers to sign off on what I have submitted.
All right, and Steve, you want to talk about water meters?
Yeah, so concerned about getting low in capital reserves in water. The water meter installations bids came back at way above what I anticipated them to be and way above what we were looking in the 70,000 range. And they came back at there was one for 98 and the other was 134. My answer to that is we do them ourselves. I had this discussion with both Mike and Brad, and they're ready to start. My call today was to Noah from Zenner. I need a date. He would promise me he would have it before this meeting, and I didn't see it when I left over there, but he would have a date for me when our water meters would be here. What we anticipate is a 6 to 9 month time frame of installation if we do them ourselves. And that is still giving us, that is making about half of our time spent installing meters, which is doable. We also, and I've talked to Josh about this, would like to definitely hire on one more person now.
So that's where I was going. And this is a page out of the highway department
Yep.
book. You know, if we hire somebody and we do some more things internally, our net benefit is we pay less and we have more control over timing than if we put them out to bid. So that's one comment. We could talk about what kind of position at what cost. But also for baseline information, if you could remind us how many meters we're talking about.
So we had anticipated doing the 100 census meters on our own, and this is where things get a little gray. I was informed by the census dealer, EJP, that as of, I believe it's the end of this month, they are no longer, after 70 years of being in business with census, no longer being a census dealer or supporting census meters. We have 100 census meters in place, and this goes back to where I believe we should buy all Zenners now and do completely away from the census meters. That means, that being said, there's about 340 meters that need to be installed.
What's the price, looking at this, what's the price per meter before you install it?
Oh, that's
That's on the Zenner page, and I don't, no, I do not have that with me.
So this is,
Noah
This is
did
just
tell me,
installation. This is
Noah did tell me that he
for
would,
numbers. It might be more confusing to have it up than anything though.
Noah did tell me that the Zenner meter, if we bought another 100 meters, they would honor the price of the meters that we were buying.
Per unit price.
Yeah. It
Oh,
wouldn't
yeah.
be a price difference. It would just be added on.
And how much more would that be?
I think they were roughly 80 something a meter. So it would be, you know, 80 times 100.
I can find it. Just give me a sec.
I don't have that paper with me. I apologize.
I'm sure I can find it. Just give me a moment.
Aaron?
So out of curiosity, how long does it take for you guys to install a meter? How many people? Like,
So Brad has the most experience. He was working with Shelburne, who was going through a meter upgrade. Brad had installed probably close to 200 meters. So he had a pretty good idea and we discussed this. He said if we work in two-man teams and install the readers outside, which is not what we asked to do, the readers can be installed inside or outside.
Yeah.
You get much better reception and from them being installed outside. But it is way cheaper to install them inside. So we thought if we are doing them ourselves, we would install them on the outside. Working in two-man teams, Brad thought that it would be easily, working in the schedule that we have to with, people's timeframes, that we could do between 3 and 5 per team per day.
Mm.
Is
But
the outside wired to the meter inside or is it?
Yes.
It is, okay.
yeah. And that's why it has to be a two-man team because you're fishing wires through the walls.
and I just don't know this, so
No,
what are the chances when you're doing it that like something happens and water sprays everywhere and there's more repairs, like that's
very
not-
little,
Okay, could you
because
shut it off. at the curb, I assume?
especially if we're doing it ourselves.
Yeah.
For one, when we get into a basement, if it's obvious that it's not gonna be a easy, we can shut it off at the curb stop. And that's one reason why we're finding all the curb stops now. We can change the main valve in the house, install the new meter, and go from there.
Are these compression fittings, pipe fittings, wet fittings? How are they?
The meters, have what they're called, are meter stubs.
Mhm.
Which basically go from there with a rubber in them.
Mhm.
And those screw onto the
Okay.
meter with a, nut.
Yeah.
And then on the end of that, it's a 3/4 inch threaded, fitting. So usually what happens is your line comes in, there's either a 3/4 or 1 inch, ball valve.
Mhm.
And then the meter stub goes right into the ball valve. The meter stub on the other side that has a double check valve in it. And then everything else is the customer's.
I'm in favor of doing it in-house, but the question I have is when the pipe breaks, when the O-ring leaks, when.
I asked Brad
so-and-so
and
says
he's
that you
like,
track dirt into the
he-
house, when you
well,
drill through and you knock down grandma's antique clock.
well.
Will our insurance pay for that?
That's
Or
where
So what we have as far as we already have readers on the outside of 89% of the houses and businesses here. So it's a matter of actually connecting because the old ones are only 2-wire and the new readers are 3-wire. We actually have to install a new wire.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of connecting to the old wire, pulling it through through the holes that are already there. And then having it on the outside and making the connections. So there's not gonna be a lot of drilling. The only 2 places that I can really think of that are gonna be a pain. And we have still the option of putting those readers inside. The one is the lodge. That reader is inside now. It's a brick building. It was
Oh.
never drilled through. And the dentist office, that reader is inside now. It was never drilled through. I'm pretty sure the dentist office, there's a spot that we could drill through without going through brick. I've looked it over a couple of times. And I would have to look at the lodge, but I think we probably would be okay just installing that meter inside or the reader inside. So those are options that we still, worst case scenario, you end up with a few readers that are inside. That's okay. But Brad said when he did they went to a reader, same type of system in Shelburne. Several times they would have to go back and then later on move the reader to the outside. And that's why we thought if we're doing it in-house, we just make that mandatory anyway to cut costs. But there are some we could just still leave inside. Yeah. I can't see spending $100,000 to put meters in.
Yeah, that surprises me.
And I assume if you're going to be doing it, we would front load on valves and all the things so that you could
We
have like
already have
an
some,
emergency
yeah.
kit when you go.
Oh, yeah.
places.
No. We would start with XYZ of each. So when they go into a house, they're ready for whatever
Could happen.
we would each, whatever we would run into, we're ready to deal with.
So did you say there's like 350 meters to change about?
About that, yeah.
So it looks like it would take you 70 man days to do that.
If that's
Which would
all
be
we
about
were doing.
14 weeks if it was
Yeah.
a 2-man.
Brad anticipated that, 6 to 9 months with that as a priority, in the day. And still allow for, anything else that might arise.
And how many meters we need to buy?
Huh?
How many meters do we need to buy?
There would be an extra 100. We have a roughly 90. I said 100, when I talked to Noah, round number.
So it looks like those are $118 per meter. I think I'm
Okay.
reading this right. So $11,800 to buy.
Right.
About 100 more.
But that gives us all meters that would be new and we wouldn't have to deal with the census. Part of the reason the whole having to deal with census came up is our meters read in 100 gallons. And for the census leak detection and everything to work, they would have to be reprogrammed to read in smaller quantities to make it justifiable.
Are the
That,
census meters, the used ones that Alan had to have?
no, those are all gone.
Oh.
But the census meters they are the new version of the meter that we have in
Like
town.
it's what we
Yeah,
have?
yeah.
Okay. The, out of here,
The initial plan was we were just gonna put readers on the census meters.
yeah,
And that was okay, but then the discussion with Noah was, well, now we've got to reprogram them all to read a finer quantity for the leak detection. So, and then when I called EJP to find out what the process to getting them reprogrammed was, they're like, well, can you do it in another week?
out of curiosity, what do we budget for an employee? What is their yearly salary?
It varied.
Yeah, I'd have to look.
But like,
I
if
don't
we just
know.
hired a
So
technician,
we do have.
pretty
well,
baseline, is that like 50 grand a year in salary?
I don't even want to guess. I'm sorry.
Okay.
But
It
we
just
do.
seems like it would be a lot
We-
less expensive
Yeah,
to hire
well,
a
and we
fourth
do-
person was my point.
And
than
well, and the
$300,000.
fourth
And our
person
budget, the fourth person's in the budget.
in the
We just
budget
need to
already.
Hire them. So I think we've had some applications and we probably need to refresh and. up
No,
the-
we discussed, we
Yeah,
want to
we need
redo
to,
the
like,
Indeed
Push it out a
one.
little bit more.
and-
And we got a great response last time. We had,
I think we did great with Mike.
Yeah.
I mean, he is an asset. He's on schedule to take his water test in June.
yeah, I think if we pushed again in a couple months, we could have some more candidates and realistically get somebody here quickly. Because what we'd probably be looking
You
for
just,
is
you
another
cannot,
operator in training like Mike. Like, we're probably not gonna get a licensed operator, just
yeah,
knowing there's
you
nobody else.
can't find a licensed operator. the best you can do is find somebody who's willing to learn and
Oh,
get them
yeah.
into the
Yeah.
program.
I guess I was just thinking that even benefits package, salary and all,
Gonna
it's
be-
probably substantially, not substantially, but less
It-
than $100,000. And if it's
Yes.
gonna take half of their year, we're now talking about saving a lot of money.
And you get
And
more out of
having an extra
them
person.
because, yeah, they'll learn everything else.
Yeah.
And if the idea was to add a position that we're at a size where we need the position, really, maybe the conversation is front loading it rather than waiting.
Yes.
Mhm.
And we should presumably have some vacancy savings in water sewer, although it's more obscure because of the contracting.
Yeah.
I would think that it might make sense to start advertising for that this time of year too, because you might get some people that
Right.
are like graduating from a tech
Mhm.
school or like somebody that's looking for an entry level position that would be very trainable. It might be
Yeah.
the time of year to do that.
The one way to do it is advertise, and if we get two qualified candidates, then kind of revisit the budget and say, do we want to add a fifth person, like we've talked about, I think that's where you were going. I mean, we have vacancy savings, I'm sure, in this year's budget, but we
I mean,
only budgeted for 4 for next year,
I-
so we need to add that.
I brought this to the guys and asked them, look, this is what they want to charge. And their response was, both of them said, why don't we do it ourselves? And that's where the discussion came, well, Brad, I need to, logistically, can we do it?
Yeah.
You know, how do we do it?
And having the press in, I mean, you guys are spending a
Yeah,
lot less time
that's
now.
the other
for
thing.
9 months ago, you were spending so much
Yeah.
time with the wastewater side. It feels like
We-
that's lessening up a bit.
Really, so the press, the 2 new channels in the press have cut down so much time. The press was running at like 20,000 gallons if I ran it in a 24-hour period. And now I'm in the 60 to 70,000 gallons in a 24-hour period.
Wow.
So I ran the press 2 days last week and we filled the tractor trailer and I haven't run it since Friday. So I don't even have a digester full. So I mean, the amount of time that I'm having to spend with that is a lot less. The other thing that he included in the budget was the $15,000 that Champlin quoted us to put in the mission system, which basically is an alarm system and a way of monitoring our water system separate from the wastewater system. And that's kind of the other thing that's really causing a lot of time is every time we get I get a common alarm, I have to come down because I don't know if it's the water system or the pump station. And by putting in an alarm system just for the water house, it will give us much more ability to know what's going on that we don't even have now.
That was part of the budget, right?
Yeah, we included, I asked to include that and it was, I have the quote and they're willing to come in and discuss what that mission type. It's basically taking the water out of the SCADA system for the wastewater plant and giving it its own cell-based system, which is we can grow upon if we want to add chlorine and fluoride monitoring. We could have instantaneous data. And those things that can be added later. This is just the base to get us, the pumps are pumping, the pressure in the system is good. And the mixers are working properly.
So what you have now, I mean, you would separate, you'd had this new system just for water. So what you have now for wastewater would still work okay?
Yeah, it would just basically, they would separate out the pump station. And now when I got a SCADA alarm that would say pump station, I would know it's something to do with the wastewater pump
Right,
station.
okay.
right now, what I get is it's called a common alarm.
Right.
And it could be 5 different things in the water house or 3 different things in the pump station.
Right, okay,
But I don't know what it is without physically coming down.
right, okay.
And that's not really in the budget yet. That's on this list of
Yeah.
things to add,
And that's the
either
15
to the budget or to a capital expenditure.
Yeah,
So that's part of the conversation of where do we go next? What's important? How do we pay for it?
When I looked at the things that were causing all of my extra hours, it's the common alarm and the press. The press is pretty much cured itself. It'll get much better when we get the PLC and stuff installed. That's coming in May. But and that was the discussion of, you know, do we have time to do the meter installation? And
So,
okay. So just looking at this, just real quick, at the end of this year, fiscal year, we're gonna have a negative 20,000 in unrestricted.
yeah, I just was making some changes here, but if we do 203,881. Right, so if we stuck with this assumes
Replacing,
water meters purchased as is without the additional 100 and paying for the installation at $100,000. So that gets us into the red of $20,000 if we keep it all out of unrestricted.
but that doesn't include the extra 100.
It does not.
Okay,
No, so what I was doing was I was starting to play with this and say, okay, if we eliminated installation, which is 100,000, and
Right.
added in the 11,800,
mhm,
we would be at 115,681. So that gets us to the additional 100 water meters purchased, but with staff installing them. And that if that all came out of unrestricted, that keeps us at 68,000 at the year end. With 15% of the water budget being 59,000, we're 8,000 above. And that doesn't touch any of our capital reserves if we
Right.
didn't want to touch them. And the one capital reserve I think that would pay for this would be our water capital here, right? $96,000. We decided we wanted to go that way. But that kind of balances it for this year if we went that way without even any other moves.
But that water capital reserve, was that set aside for anything specifically, or was that just general?
You know, I don't, Steve, unless you or Connie, I don't think we have a real solid, like, we've really moved towards having really great plans for all of our capital reserve funds in the town level, and we have the capital budget to tie that back to. I don't think that this is as tied into specific projects, so it could be used for this.
I will only observe that the whole 20-year like review, it blows all this stuff out of the water.
well,
anyway.
On the wastewater side,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, that's
Yes, that's
kind of
right.
separate.
or,
So I mean, just, yeah, separating them out. Yeah, wastewater, we need every penny we got, I think. Whereas water, we've got, less that's been breaking, less that needs to be replaced imminently. This is more about nice upgrades like new water meters.
and where does the new hire come into these expenses?
So they wouldn't be reflected there because they're currently in the FY 24 budget.
Oh, they are.
And they're also in 25. So we've always been budgeted for four
Right.
staff members.
Okay.
So we've kept that staff member in there, even though we haven't had them recently. So we could easily hire that 4th member right now, and that would be in the budget, we'd be fine. If we wanted to get to a 5th member, then we would have to add, however much, we have to calculate that out.
I think, I mean, the guys right now think we're comfortable with one more. And doing the installation. I told them, I mean, it's gonna be, and we are aware and we've discussed that, it might mean to make this work. Some people aren't gonna be able to be home during the day, that we may have to schedule, some of us will come in at 7 to 3 and some of us might come in at 10 to 5, to make this go faster and work better. And they're willing to, the 2 guys that we've got now are willing to work around that.
So why don't we proceed in that direction, but it would also behoove us to hire the fourth
Yeah,
one ASAP, right?
Correct.
right. We don't need a motion to do that, right? You
No.
just,
Nope.
sounds good, I
Unless-
think. Any-
So,
I mean, my concern was weeding out our water reserves and this is one way of not doing that.
You do kill, you get, I shouldn't use that word, but, you get to hire an extra person. They get training on installing new water meters and understanding that. So there's a lot of pluses about doing that in-house. And so just real quick, if in a perfect world, if you said, yeah, we're gonna go that, we're gonna install them, when would we actually get the new Zener meters?
I had asked Noah today, if he could get me a time frame, and he didn't get back to me
Okay,
before I
that's-
came over here. The only other caveat to all this is, Connie she wants a little more, assurance on how this system is gonna work with Nemrick. And she wants, not to be installing water meters in July. So that it would mean a lot more work for her in the new meter readings in relation with, basically it would be two systems working together. And July is when, we start the new budget year and stuff. She's asked not to.
End
until
of the
then.
year, tying up end of the year less stuff.
So it's quarterly readings.
Yeah.
Now, is the language between the two meters vastly different?
Well, we're reading all of our meters manually right now.
Right.
That's a different language.
So if anything, it would be,
How is it any worse?
it'd be only easier.
I don't know if Connie is still on. She was the one that brought these concerns up.
The new system that you
It's supposed to be,
Does it- automatically
Yeah.
upload to an Excel sheet or?
yeah, as
Okay.
far as I know.
Connie, you want to comment?
So if anything, it would only be easier.
One would think.
Yeah, I don't want to implement a new system in the beginning of July. We're closing 1 year, doing tax bills, doing water bills. And the last thing that we need is for two different softwares not to communicate well with each other. I've not been involved at all in the process or had any conversations with the company that's supplying the meters and with Nemrick as to how this is even going to work. Steve did think that we could install new meters, yet manually read them and do them like we have in
Yeah,
the
Noah
past. That-
said that was possible.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, so we,
it's to him, it's more beneficial to do. I mean, they don't. That's not the system they sell.
well, Rick, I'm sure I
Clarifying
can,
question. So if like the meters, if they say they'll be here in the end of April, are you asking them to not start installing them until after July or just not be like they could install them in May and June and then take a break in July while you have a higher workload with all the end of year stuff and then start again in August or not start until after July?
They can put the new meters in as long as we can enter them as we usually do, because that takes me like a couple of hours, but July and August are just,
yeah,
I'm slammed and we're all hands on deck, especially the first 2 weeks in July, and that's when we crank out water bills for the April through June usage.
Well, I don't want to minimize the bolus of work that you face that time of year. When I was thinking about this, though, if we're manually collecting and entering things, it is always possible to collect it electronically and then manually enter it in a couple hours, and you would have saved at least the field time of collecting it. Now all you'd be doing is transposing from one to the other, which is already, I mean, it's a possible source of error, but it already exists to the degree that we hand enter data. So isn't there a way to sort of clues fit the new system into the old system just by data entry, if that's what we need to do.
I think that's what you were trying to do with, so like, you would basically export it to an Excel sheet, and then Connie's side would be the same exact thing in July. And then when we get to the next billing cycle, she'd have more time for a blended system where, okay, we've got 150, they're gonna automatically upload, and the other ones are still manual read. I think it's that blend that she's trying to like not try to figure out in July. But I think, I think your solution, I think Noah's saying we could probably do that for a billing period or two. And then if we don't slow down the installation, which is the main
If
concern.
we get the system up and running and we have 100 meters in end of May, ready to read, or in July, well, we read them that way and I got them on a paper and I transpose them over to the old system and ship them up.
And it looks the same to Connie because she's just getting one set of data.
There's numbers in.
I think we can make that work
Okay,
That sounds good.
and not overload anybody.
And then we try to do the system switch over in September. If
And the fallback is always, you can always manually enter from
Yep.
an automated time saving system into manually entering.
yes, I can't believe you can't.
The entering is, I mean, that's a couple hours at best. The new meters is gonna save the guys a whole lot of time reading them.
Right.
Well, and won't it save time on your end too, because it'll automatically upload, so they won't have to read
Well,
them too?
she doesn't want to have to
Idea.
deal with that.
Right, but in
Yeah,
the
but
future.
in the
I'm
future.
saying,
Oh,
not
yeah, in the
July, but
future, yeah.
It's gonna save time for,
We're done with it.
yeah.
Yeah. I think that's
Well,
Sure.
but on the other hand, I mean, we actually had a conversation today. We really need to, we don't even have a billing policy. But there's a lot of little things that we look at that we're going to have to decide, will we still be able to do those things? And for instance, as we're manually entering, we're looking at the average compared to the new reading and we're deciding, is it a low meter reading? Does the meter have to be checked? Is it a high reading? Do we alert the new owner or the owner
Well,
that
all
they may
becomes-
have a leak? Are we going to continue to do those things? Because again,
That
I
all
know
be-
nothing about the software or if we're even going to be able to do those things anymore.
We do not have to do those things anymore because the system is completely automated. Each customer will have a portal and they can monitor all of their own water usage themselves daily. And that takes all the responsibility of us worrying about a water meter failure because it will tell me daily if I have a meter that is not acting right.
What we should probably do is have get Noah in to talk to Connie,
Yeah.
because we really have.
Yeah, no, and that's what
We haven't closed. that
Noah
loop.
was,
'Cause
Noah was traveling and I
Yeah.
couldn't get him to.
I think in most of your questions, Connie, like this is, like it will send us an alert if a meter runs for 24 hours indicating there's no leak. We'll get a pop-up that says, hey, meter on 257 West Main Street just ran for 24 hours with no stop. Go check it.
Well, I get
Oh,
that.
flag.
Huh?
We
Will
will
flag.
get flagged.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
There's a number of
Every
features
day.
that I think will eliminate some of that. So let's have a breakout with getting Noah in to talk,
Yep.
because I think are bad for not bringing you in on some more of that.
Yeah,
Just yet, but I think it'll be good.
I'll just say, I don't know if anybody else here has solar panels, but it reminds me very much of solar panels. There's an online monitoring system. It sends me an email if the
snow's on
inverter
it.
signal fails. It's automatically monitoring. It sends me an email. We're not getting a signal from your inverter. You can also go online and look at your production. It gives you a curve for every day and it gives you total production by day, by month, by year. So you move to sort of a 21st century platform and there's functionality built into it as opposed to hand reading and hand entering into a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
All right, we better move on here.
I think the only motion that we might like is to purchase the additional water meters. Because we had a motion from you guys a while ago to purchase the original.
Yeah.
So was it 100 we needed to get?
Yeah, I mean, a round number, it's 100.
Okay.
Do you have a sentence you want us to say, or are we spitballing this one, Josh?
So it says it was 113 per meter, is that right?
They pull that up just to make sure.
You had
It's a
that.
census meter that we're replacing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
we
I would
originally,
say-
118, I'm sorry.
I'll make the motion. I move that we replace all the census meters with the new Zenner meters.
Okay, for,
That's why she's.
Yeah.
is that 8,500?
It would be 100 new meters at 11,800
Okay,
total.
right.
right?
Okay, so David has made a motion to replace the 100 census meters for a total of 11,800, or estimated 11,800. Do I have a second?
Ms. Bard, I'll second that.
Discussion? I think we've had,
We did.
yeah, a lot of, yeah, we beat that one down, didn't we? All right, calling for a vote.
Aaron, I.
Bard, aye.
David, I.
Morgan, aye. Motion passed.
What else? I mean, I think we've actually gone through a few of the items on the budget. What else do we want to talk about on the budget tonight, or do we want to come back to the next meeting and dive into some of these other items?
we really didn't talk much about wastewater, but
We didn't.
Have we gotten a breakdown of the last fiscal year for residential, commercial and municipal usage of the budget?
No, we should have that by the next meeting because they just
Okay.
finished reading meters, so we should have
meters
that.
are all done and then.
So we'll have that. And then we do need to talk more about these other pieces where we're gonna put those in. Right now, this budget isn't like crazy complicated. There's not a lot of changes. So we could probably look at these down the road. And then one thing I did do here, I don't know, just to touch on it, Bart had asked for sort of a breakdown of where we've been with user receipts and rates. So I did provide this. I didn't have time to put it. I was starting to put it into like a chart so you could see where the ups and the downs were. But I was trying to combine everything, and combining $297,000 with $10 didn't really work on the chart. So I'll work on that some more, but it shows that we're not the highest nor the lowest, I think, on any of these categories, especially in wastewater.
So this is exactly what I was thinking of. So Josh, thanks for this. And it sort of illustrates there's some ups and downs, but yeah, it was kind of what I was looking at, that while it's up, it's not the highest up. It's not like we've been going up 10% a year.
Yeah, but I could probably make a nice line chart. It just illustrates it easier than trying to look at
Yeah.
the difference here. So we could, if you guys want to come back, and I mean, the 5 o'clock start, I think, has been really nice to have time to go through.
Yeah.
If that works for
Great.
everybody still, we
Yeah.
can come back and dive more of this. I mean,
It's my fave, but it is good once we're here.
I typically don't like, I'd rather start later, but
I don't need to go home and eat before I come here.
it does give us the time. to
jelly
get-
beans.
Yeah, jelly beans,
Yeah.
good. If you guys are still good with the 5 o'clock, it's really only two or maybe 3 more water and sewer meetings. We had to start early, and then I think.
It is good because we're not rushed.
Yeah, it gives us time.
And someday we're gonna have an audience, so we're gonna need it.
Yeah,
Are we
we
ready
have
for the annual meeting?
some questions, aren't we?
Okay.
Okay,
I'm sorry, I sort of jumped in. I'll turn it back over to you.
all right, so we're putting budget to bed for right now. And we'll go to, well, there was bids.
So there was water meter installation, which we've basically talked
Just-
about. I think
Yeah.
the debate,
I have them.
all we're doing there is we're deciding to not do anything.
Right.
We've talked about that in the earlier agenda item and decided we're not gonna do installation at this point. We've also talked a bit about,
Touched on the alarm system.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know if there's more.
Well, I mean, I will bring in, at the next meeting, Champlin, and they can do a much better discussion, and basically, it gives us most water and wastewater systems are going to a mission-based system. And part of that is because it is instantaneous. I mean, everybody has their cell phone with them. You have it on your cell phone, you're able to look at it, you're able to monitor things, you're able to change things. Phil Laramie has it for Newport's wastewater system. He, sitting here, he gets an alarm, he can do it, he can change a pump. flow everything right from his phone. And I'm not looking for that. The SCADA system works for us. But we need to separate out the water system from the wastewater system.
Is this a program that we could add during the 20-year upgrade? Or-
Well, it's for, what I'm asking for is the water side of it
Okay.
right now.
So you want
Because
two systems, one for the sewer or the set or the.
it would
the
be
sewer,
nice,
And one
but,
for the
I
water.
mean,
Okay.
the, the thing that causes me to come to town most often is the common alarm for either the pump station. I mean, all I get it is, it's common alarm. It's either the pump station or it's the water system.
Doesn't break it out. It's.
And it doesn't tell me, I have to first come down, go to the water system or go to the pump station, go through the panel, make sure there's no alarms. If there's an alarm, then dig in to find out what it is. 99 chances out of 100, it's something to do with the pump station, and I don't need to worry about the water system.
Hmm.
What this would give me is the ability to look on my phone, and be able to say, okay, the water system's pumping fine, the pressure in the system's good, the pumps are pumping. We're good.
Okay.
I have to just deal with the water.
It would be good to have somebody come in and talk about that.
Yeah.
Just to- okay.
So it strikes me there's levels of this. The first is sort of monitoring and diagnosis to say what's going on. And what I've understood from other systems, the second phase is actually online management.
Yes.
Or control. The second one is not zero risk because everything I've read, again, not to blame the Russians for everything or the Chinese or the North Koreans, but literally that's one of the things that they do is they hack into systems and start messing up, like put in more chlorine, put in no chlorine.
So,
So security is sort of the short.
right. I'm not asking for us to put in the type of system where we're actually we're actually adding the chlorine. That's something that I feel we still we've got it under control now, and we're really dialed in on our fluoride right now. We've completely revamped that over again. But I'm looking for just the ability we can have the pH, the chlorine, and the fluoride. We can actually know what the numbers are. Not that they would be dosing. That I still think is something we need to do. But it would be nice to just sit here and say, okay, your fluoride right this second is, 0.82 or, whatever it is.
So real-time monitoring, and that's sort of, again, similar to what I described about the solar panel monitoring.
Yeah.
I can see each panel's production.
Yeah.
Both historically and real time. And it's sort of like, I can't really change anything, but it like helps me
Yeah.
diagnose if there's a problem, right?
Yeah.
So it's really just
I mean,
sophisticated monitoring. So to speak.
Right. And I feel the dosing and stuff. I mean, I'm a little old school. I feel that's something that, we're there, we manually turn the pump up. Or we turn it down and then we check. Okay, hey, 5 minutes later, I don't have to run back to the water house. I know that the water now has either come up or gone down according to what I did on the thing. And that type of system is a little bit cheaper than the other one. But I think that it's good that this system that I'm looking at is module based. You can build upon. You don't have to buy it all with all the bells and whistles to start. You can add them as you want or as you need them or not add them.
Yeah.
It just gives you that flexibility, places to grow. And I'm looking for you guys in the future, finding a new superintendent or, I'm not leaving, don't worry, but when you guys whenever the town is at the point where they need to find somebody, that person is not looking at Richmond saying, oh, they got a common alarm still from the 1970s. and they have no idea what's happening at their water house. I'm looking at giving you guys the ability to say, look, we've got a system, you can look right here, you can see, you can, and make it a little easier for you guys in the future and for us right now.
Okay, that'll be on the list. Jen,
Yeah,
next
I'll
week.
bring them in
Good.
next
Good.
meeting.
Thank you.
Do you want to be here for when he brings those in?
No, I think
Yeah.
I will be on the road that day, so I'll just try to get to a hotel room early and just
Okay.
listen to him. But yeah, you can make it as simple or as complicated as you want, depending on how much information and
Yeah.
control you want.
I mean, it just,
I mean, do we want to hear from the rep or do we just do an RFP and, I mean, are there more
I
questions of the rep?
I think I'll bring in the rep and let them talk. I do think I've reached out to Mission themselves and asked them to give me some names of people in this area.
Mhm.
The problem is in Vermont, we only have one company that deals with Mission. So we will, to get a couple of bids, we're gonna have to reach out of state. But
Okay.
Okay.
Review of list of water, wastewater items to be repaired or replaced. Almost got it down to one page.
almost. The press is the big thing. That's working great. The 2 channels went in. We started at 7 o'clock on Tuesday morning. At noon, we were 100% up and running. And I'm waiting to see, we shipped our first trailer this morning. I'm waiting to see what the weight was. The stuff coming out of the press is so dry. It is unbelievable dry. There's no dripping from the trailer like it used to. It really, it made a big difference. And the press aid going back into the plant is crystal clear. We had one day that we couldn't get it to work. I called the rep up. He's like, change this number to this. I changed that number and in 15 minutes it was back working crystal
Oh, that's
clear the way
nice.
it should.
Wow.
I think
no
it's
issue.
been money well spent.
No issue with the replacement parts?
Huh?
No issue with the replacement parts?
Nope, they slipped right on. I had removed the 2 channels, and had it all ready to go back together. It slipped on, it bolted up. The piping was dead on. There wasn't any piping to rework. There are a few, snags with, the flocculator now leaks terribly, which we kind of knew because we're running an increased pressure in the channels. The weak spot is the flocculator. We've got one coming, and as soon as we get that, it'll be a little better. But I am really, really, really impressed with the result for the 2 channels that we put on.
Right.
They're now stainless steel. They're supposed to wear a little better. They've redesigned how they make the screens inside. They were kind of fused before. Now they're actually welded, bonded together somehow. Basically, there's a large screen with a finer screen bonded to it. And we took one of our screens, it's just the large screen. There's no back screen to it anymore. And that's why it wasn't working.
Yeah.
They were completely worn away. The inner screen. When we had one apart, we looked at it.
Do you know what the lifespan of the newer stainless steel version is?
He said, I mean, if we got 20 years out of the other one, he's like, in 10 years, you might have to change the screens to keep the efficiency the way it is, but that's totally doable.
We didn't really get 20 years out of it. We just didn't, we didn't
Yeah,
replace it after 10.
well, you got 20 years. We made a lot of sludge out of
Right.
Mm.
That's-
it. I mean, with what we were doing. They're still totally amazed that we were able to get anything out of it.
Well,
But
great.
it's now, I can start the press and actually see a result in the amount of liquid we have in the digester. Within an hour, it's going down and I can continue taking septage. We've had, the last week of March, we had a couple of days of 60,000 gallons a day.
Wow.
And we didn't even have to bat an eye. I mean, our septage tanks didn't even get full.
How many trucks is that?
Huh?
How many trucks is that?
Well, it's 5,000 on a truck. On 5,000, it's 3 to 5 on a truck, so. But, I mean, we can do it now. It was a pretty good test. We got the new channels in and then it just seemed to pick up. And it was, I got a couple of calls from haulers, you still have room? And I'm like, yeah, we don't even have anything in our septic tank. It's all in the digester. And, before on a busy day like that, they would have to slow down or we would have to call them. And so, I'm pretty sure that we could handle 75,000 a day without any problems right now.
All right, let's start advertising.
We are, I mean, I drum up all the business. I tell everybody I'll take any amount they've got.
I have a question. I'm sorry, I can't find it. What is the time frame for changing how we accept septage for metering it or measuring it?
We talked about putting that into the 20-year upgrade. We've asked Holt Tanner to include a meter system in the upgrade of the new septage receiving.
So if we got that cost estimate, I don't know, is it $5,000, $50,000? Where I was going is that something you'd want to front load, so to speak, on an improvement to get more accurate septage
It
measurement, so to speak?
I think in the long run, it's going to show that we're overcharging. I really do. It showed me that our numbers are pretty much dead on.
Right, when you clean the tank out and.
Yeah, and I routinely, pick a couple of different trucks and monitor how much they bring in from different haulers. And we're pretty much, they're dead on. I mean,
Interesting. Okay.
they're pretty close. And we have one hauler that comes in with a metered amount. They know exactly how many gallons they have on their truck. And when I check them against how much our meter is working, in the tank, it's basically right off.
So some of them have meters on the truck, so they know how much they're pulling in.
So Casella brings us wash water from Avenue B. They have a system where they wash all their dumpsters. And that water essentially goes into a catch basin and they pump that water out into a truck. That truck that they come down with is a tractor trailer and it has a number of gallons that it discharges and they give us a slip. And I use that to check to make sure that our tank is still giving us a pretty good accurate reading and they're almost dead on.
Quick comment is thinking about with the increase in our rate and people might be dropping more at Milton now because we're the same.
Yeah,
rate that-
the problem was, Milton had a 2-week period where they were down.
Oh,
And I found a lot of the haulers just came right back to Richmond.
Who's your daddy?
So it just shows they'll go where they can get
Right.
rid of it.
So, and just the only point being is we're at that point now, maybe that our numbers are pretty good and we have
Yeah.
to, the only thing that seems to be, if we can ever break out and figure out truly what it cost us to process.
We've asked Holt Tanner to look into that.
Mm,
I think that's part of the 20-year study. I hate to
Yeah.
keep
Okay.
saying that, but
Um,
they were
that'd
looking
be
into
great
how-
if we sort of knew that, then we could
Yeah.
maybe put that to bed in the sense of when it gets brought up in meetings from time to time.
Going forward in the, with the 20-year upgrade, our dewatering plant, the dewatering building, we've asked them to install, its own water line, so we can actually monitor the water that's used in there. And then we've asked them to also maybe look into maybe separating out the electricity used in the dewatering building.
Okay, yep.
And I'm not sure, but there's a congressional. You didn't get that email? They asked our congressional, Sanders and Welch, that there is a definite need for Richmond's septic receiving. That $4.5 million up part of the upgrade. They've asked for congressional monies for that.
Bill Tanner does that?
Hey,
Yeah,
The
yeah, that's
whole
right.
banner.
Wait a minute.
Holt Tanner,
so that
Our
would be an
lobbyists.
earmark request?
yeah,
Oh, wow.
Our
We,
lobbyists.
we better, our lobbyists, that's right, Hoyt Tanner, they did, it sounds like lobbyists. Wow.
there is a definite need. They've got some letters from the state stating that
Hmm.
this is a definite need and that they want, I think they've asked for, I thought you got.
If it came in Thursday or Friday or today.
It might be,
I have-
So we
because I think they're looking for a letter from us also.
Yeah,
I would think.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah.
yeah. So who's the pinsmith here? Oh, yeah. Have pin.
So that's worth, it's not on the agenda. That's worth following up and
Yeah.
maybe an agenda.
I just
item
assumed
around,
that he had
try-
gotten it also.
Earmarks are a big
I'm
deal.
a little
There's no
behind.
better.
Being out Thursday, Friday,
Yeah.
I haven't caught up on hardly anything yet today.
And that may be time sensitive too.
Yeah.
I think I think there's an
Gonna have to
imminent
be.
deadline. So Josh is probably worth prioritizing because
Yeah.
it's just getting a letter to see if we get in
Yeah.
queue.
Yeah,
The electricity usage is ridiculously simple. You can put a sub-meter in the line going
Right.
out to the dewatering
Yeah.
building, and it'll tell you exactly how much electricity is used
Yeah.
in that.
And I know roughly, I can tell because, because, our water system over there now is really tight. I know roughly exactly how many gallons I'm sending there, but in the upgrade, I know she wants to put its own water line with its own meter, for the dewatering building.
So I'm not letting go of this quite yet, but I'm almost ready to let go of this letter. I think we should have a motion to defer because otherwise
yeah.
I don't want to postpone until a future meeting and have it too late.
I found an email that it came in when I was out.
So we want to just make a motion that goes out.
Well, they want a letter by the end of the day, Thursday, April 4th.
Oh.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I thought. It was.
Yeah, I can write a letter on behalf of the town
And let's just like consensus that we asked Josh to write a letter on behalf of the town and the Water Sewer Commission.
Mhm.
I don't want to postpone it, waiting for some kind of emergency approval.
Yeah, and that's why I brought it up because I did think that you had seen it.
No, I did, I mean, I think they came
It
out
was-
Thursday.
It sounded like a pretty good chunk of change
Yeah.
to go
Of course,
towards.
plenty of time, Josh.
Yeah.
Well,
it's-
yeah, I mean,
couple of
they
days.
sent it a week before. so,
Yeah.
And it's only going to our senators, right?
We've got 20 minutes before the select board
Yeah,
meeting.
if you need one of us to help.
Actually, one thing it says is if we could solicit letters of support. So if
From the
anybody,
community?
yeah,
right.
And
Can you forward us the email? Is that
And
legally allowed?
yeah. Absolutely.
That's
So
right.
if anybody has
That
thoughts
was
on
the
who they could
question
reach
I
out
had.
to,
Is that where we would reach out to our haulers
Yes.
I think so.
and
Yeah,
Dan Pratt in particular
yeah. I
and
can
get,
do
I
that.
mean,
You could basically, probably what you should do as well is to, if you can get it, write sort of a can letter and say,
Yeah.
you can modify this, but.
Mhm.
That's exactly right. If you want a fast turnaround, you got to give people something that's easy
Mhm.
Mhm.
to do. And exactly, either talking points or literally, here's a draft. Feel free to individualize it.
Right.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
and put it-
drive by P&P tomorrow morning if you'd like me to drop one off with Darren.
And put it on their letterhead.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
that's something I think we're probably going to be picking up tomorrow, given the time and select board is having in some remaining items, but maybe pick it up by email.
Okay.
And follow up.
Yeah, if you want to. just
sorry
circulate
about that,
up.
Josh. I think,
I just haven't, I sort of, I didn't,
Okay.
I haven't, I've got a bunch of emails I haven't caught up
Glad you
on.
brought it up though, because
Yeah, I would have missed that deadline. I
Yeah.
almost guarantee you.
So
So,
I guess moving on, update on the Gateway project.
we had some discussion, I mean, I can start that.
Go ahead.
We had some discussion with Phil this morning. On they had done some scoping with P&P.
Well, let's back up first. So we met on the phone with,
Yeah.
John Abergini.
Yeah.
Right? And, Josh and, John talked, I listened inside there and, John seemed very open to, determining what that easement is and then writing up and giving us an easement for the sewer line as well as, the water line. But they did some additional work in inspecting it after that one fail where they dug it back and look at it, which Steve will tell you more information on. But he was also very open to then figuring out where to extend the easement to the Richmond Land Trust property. So it was all positive. They're on board with, yes, it'd be great if that's going to help the town out in the long run.
Yeah.
and this was the easement. We didn't do the easement when they,
There's an agreement to repair the line, but there's no easement, which means like every time you repair it, you'd have to call up and say, may we have permission? Whereas of course, right when you have an easement, you just go in and repair.
Yeah.
Which is the traditional sort of gold standard way to
Right.
do it, get an easement.
well, I remember at one point there was conversation that like when they did the last work on something, we didn't get an easement.
The water line, what has been upgraded to town standards.
Mhm.
And the town at that point was supposed to get an easement and have take it over essentially. And that really never,
Happened.
that last step never got done. I think we need to proceed with that and finish that while we're figuring out the sewer end of it.
Mhm.
The water line's a done deal. It's
We have
up
an
to our,
agreement, yeah.
it's up to our standards. We need to get that part finished and finalized. And he's open to that, and he's also open to the sewer line. The question is the sewer line up to our standards? And, with the pressure test fail, there's questions. They did have it, P&P, went back to they cameraed back as far as the Y where Richmond Elementary joins. We haven't seen any video of it. They said they had, no damage or any problems that far back. That's only about, I would say 1/3 of the complete. For conclusive evidence, we should go all the way back to the next, but, there was some discussion on how to proceed there. Phil was gonna get in contact with P&P and see if they could actually scope from the pump station behind Camel's Hump up the line and see if we could get a more definitive thing there. Somewhere in their thoughts was from the Richmond Elementary Y back to Camel's Hump, that section of the line had been replaced at one point. But the problem being, they have no records. They have no, Was it just piecemeal? I mean, we don't have any concrete information there. Phil was gonna do some digging into that and, then we might proceed with another pressure test or some exploratory digging. Is basically the next thing.
Did I miss it? I thought John said they actually dug.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, yeah.
They dug up, but up towards where the Richmond Elementary line
Okay.
comes in.
That's it. Okay.
And the Richmond Elementary line comes around the back of the school and up through kind of that playground area, you know, where they have the skating rink this winter.
Right. Between the two, the middle school and the elementary.
No, it
Right in
comes,
front of the building.
yeah, it comes around. So
Okay.
So where that connects onto the line is really only a third of
Right.
the line that they had cameraed.
Right.
It's really from there back to the Camel's Hump that we don't know what
Yeah, okay.
the issues are.
But it's only a 50-year-old line.
Well, then, and it's a line that's had repairs, it's had issues, and we don't have any record of what was done,
Yeah.
And it failed the pressure test.
and it failed the pressure test.
Other than that, we should take it over.
Mhm.
No red flags, I don't see a problem here.
So I guess
Huh?
the question is if we
Keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
keep moving forward. and then-
I think the big thing is let's get the water end of it out of there.
Yeah.
I mean, cause that's the one we're closest to finishing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
While we continue to work on the
Makes sense.
sewer end of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Review of information sheet related to sewer meters. We've already done that.
Well, I
Yeah.
added a few things based on what
Okay.
the commission asked for, so,
Oh. This is 4F, the document,
I
right?
mean,
yeah, right. Let me pop it up. So let's see, what I should have done track changes, but, so
So I've read this and I think this is good. Do we want to add the fact? I just note, I don't know if we want to add this. There are systems that should charge everyone the same.
Flat rate?
There's
Yeah.
20 people. I don't care how much you use.
Mhm.
You pay 1/20th. They could volunteer for that if they're interested.
My only, what do you wanna call it? Devil's advocate argument to that is then people might want to explore that option. You know, then you may have a half and half, like, yes, we like that one, when they know there is another
Although-
option.
It's literally not a democracy.
I get, well, I just didn't
They're
know,
not
like, some
voting on
people
this.
petition us and then make us vote on it. So-
They could. Who wants to do that? The only people who want that are high users, like, that's not, hey, I'd rather pay average use than a high use. You could do that with electrical use too. You want to pay the same, do you want the
No.
farm to pay the same as the like little house next door?
No,
You
absolutely
probably
not.
do. But the little house next door doesn't, right?
Right. Well, I guess that's what I mean, and I
Yeah.
just would worry that then we get a squeaky wheel that wants us to change it and we.
said.
You know, and that's why I say, I don't know if it belongs here. That's the other option that I know of. There's no meters at all. We just charge everybody the same. Don't worry about meters. We save 100,000. But I think it's good enough. We could probably wordsmith it forever.
I'll post it on Front Porch Forum.
Yeah.
And post it on our website.
I don't know if we want to, if it's worth going out with the next quarterly bill or not. Just do it one time, or if that's,
I mean, I think we do Front Porch Forum and website and see how many more questions have we gotten in the last couple months? I don't think it's been a lot.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it really
Was
came
the
about.
initial one, wasn't it?
It came
Yeah.
because of the flood
Right.
and disruption. And if anybody Googled sewage use meter, you'd quickly be dissuaded from
How
pursuing.
much is Amazon selling them for?
That'll come up.
Well, they're real money. There are a
Yeah,
couple
I
of
bet
different
they're a lot,
options,
yeah.
and if I recall correctly, they range from $500 to $2,000 a piece,
Yep.
and they break.
Before you're installed, right?
Yes,
Spending 180 and they're not super accurate. So, all right,
You
I'll
wanna
put this
install those
out and if
meters?
we get more, I mean.
Whatever they need.
Rather than putting them into everything.
do not
now,
want-
There's probably other information that we'll need to put in the bills at some point.
Just post it.
We'll post it up and if we continue getting from.
If we don't get any,
Questions, we can,
yeah, if we don't get any hate comments on it, we're good.
I would hope so. All right,
Let's see.
Tilden Ave.
Update on Tilden Avenue.
So we covered that a little bit. The state has basically acknowledged that they've received our application, asked us for some follow-up information. I think like 75% of it's gonna come from Tyler Billingsley. We'll gather a couple other financial forms, get that back to them with the goal of trying to get this done in the next couple months so we can get out to bid in the fall and this time next year, hopefully be constructing the water line.
So, yeah, so, and to quell everybody's, on Tilden's, appetite
Yeah, those
or
Tilden people.
they're wondering when the digging is gonna take place. Pete has got some scheduled digging up there for, stormwater,
Yeah, this coming.
which they will immediately think is us doing the whole
Right.
street, which is
Will
not.
happen.
Go
it
up.
might be worth a front porch forum when the stormwater
Hmm,
is about to
Yeah.
start, to just say that's starting.
Well, it's
it's not the water.
it's going to be an exploratory dig, so Tyler can then engineer around the sewer mains that are there.
Yeah.
And then he will have to design a system and then he'll come back.
Is that for the Witters house?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's scary. All right,
All right, we got one more item.
discussion of invitation for water and sewer commissioners to attend the Vermont Rural Water Annual Meeting and Trade Show. Where is that?
Lake Maury.
Oh, well, okay.
Put your shoes on.
Really
That's right.
good food
Not a fan.
and a great location.
It's a horrible location.
Well,
You guys went last year. It was a good trade show.
yeah, it's a great trade show. I
And
mean,
we wanted to put it in here in case any
Yep.
commissioner wanted to go to the trade show or the annual membership meeting. You're all invited. You just
Okay.
they just ask that you pre-register for that.
Maybe.
How far in advance?
Where's the website to?
In the packet. Let me share the screen. I put that. in-
This
What we
said
can
May
do.
10th
I
and
mean,
11th.
Oh, sorry.
we
that
can
was-
register you. I mean,
Your email just said it was the 10th and 11th. Are you sending us there on the day it's not happening?
well, if you want to play golf, if you want to go down and play
do I
golf,
put it-
the golf tournament's the day before.
Thursday is the 9th, not the
Now,
11th.
you know what? I grabbed the wrong email here because this is last year's email.
Oh, yes, it
March
is.
2023?
Yeah.
So what am I doing?
Into leap year, so it's way off another day.
Yeah, that's why. Okay, how did I? Oh, all right.
But you can just circle it.
About it next week.
Yeah, we got.
Yeah,
We got time.
I mean,
I think it's
they
May
never
9th.
turn anybody
I
away.
think it's.
The
May-
9th is a Thursday.
Yeah, so I think I grabbed the wrong email as I was putting the packet together.
Maybe
so-
just do it again and we'll
Yeah.
talk about it again next
Yeah.
time.
Good.
Does it have a registration deadline? Do you know?
I think there is a
I think
deadline, but
Brad and Mike registered already. But
Is
I
there cost?
don't think there's,
Do you need me to cover that day so you can go?
Show me how to run that press.
Yeah, I'll just press some buttons.
You know what?
Alarms go off.
you know what? Now you can run it. It is that simple. I mean, Brad was totally, he's like, it would be hours.
May
of
8th and 9th.
Somebody standing out
May
there
8th and 9th.
monitoring things.
the membership
he's
meeting's
like-
on the 9th.
I mean, literally, we just look at this and
Golf
set
is
it
on
up.
the
So
stove.
the
I'll bring it back. We
parameters are
should
here
probably wrap
and
up.
walk away. And yeah,
Sorry for the
it
confusion, but
literally
it is,
is-
May 9th is the annual meeting, so I'm sure we've got time to register. That'll
yeah,
be
there's
fine.
plenty of time.
All right, and I think we have a bunch of items for next agenda. We got minutes, we got water tank inspection, we got budget, the alarm rep, the congressional spending letter, which will do Vermont Rural Water.
If you could probably find some sewer meters down there if you were. Great.
And we're waiting, are we waiting for more information?
You could
for, Oh, are you talking with the attorney for the write-up for the easement
Remember when Taylor?
So,
for the water line?
Yeah, I was asking, I'm trying to get some exact coordinates from Tyler, then give it to the attorney,
Okay.
just to make sure I get the whole thing
Right.
from the stuff from Jericho Road all the way through.
Okay.
And then I think once we have that, it'll take the attorney no time at all.
Okay.
But yeah, working on that.
We need to
so
talk about,
items for next week? Oh,
Yeah.
did you have one more thing?
well, do we need to talk about this problem?
Not yet,
Okay.
probably next meeting.
What is that? I said, oh, Kendall brought these. in."
Okay.
No,
Get it off the table.
It- No, yeah, it wasn't warned for tonight.
Yeah.
It's a meter
So,
issue.
Whatever.
It's a meter that didn't maybe read correctly last, we'll talk about it.
And
yeah,
then-
it needs to be addressed.
A
Yeah.
tank.
Oh,
Talk
yes.
About the
We'll
tank.
talk about the tank. Yeah, that's just getting Tyler that video,
Yeah,
which we gotta get Tyler.
I gotta
to
get to talk.
He was dressed, right?
Huh?
He was dressed, right?
The diver?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I had to think about it.
No, they are fully dressed, and they sanitize themselves with chlorine before they go in. And then we, within 12 hours, taken a direct sample out of the tank. And it's
Thank you.
never showed anything, so.
Just, we got 3 minutes.
No, it's fine.
Are
That's
we
fine.
good?
So, do we need me to move to adjourn? the
Yes.
That would
meeting?
be fantastic.
Aaron Farr, I move to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Motion passed. Thank you.